This week at the movies, Dudley Moore is jealous of Nastasia Kinski. He thinks she's having an affair with a passionate violinist. Michael Caine is having an affair with a teenager, the daughter of his best friend. And Steve Martin plays a lonely guy who not only doesn't have any dates, even dogs run away from him.
They're all in the three movies we'll be reviewing this week: Unfaithfully Yours, Blame It on Rio, and The Lonely Guy. We'll also be looking at other new films on At the Movies, the movie review program.
Dudley Moore is a jealous husband. Michael Caine has an affair with a teenager, and Steve Martin is a lonely guy all day long. Doesn't anybody have happy love stories anymore? We'll be reviewing all three of their new movies this week on At the Movies, the movie review program.
Dudley Moore is driven wild with jealousy about his wife, Nastasia Kinski, this week at the movies, the movie review program.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
We're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith, Wesson, and me. Go ahead. Make my day.
Now you know why they call me Dirty Harry. Every dirty job that comes along.
3 classic lines of dialogue from 3 of the 4 best-selling cop pictures of all time, the 4 Dirty Harry movies starring Clint Eastwood. And the popularity of the Dirty Harry movies is the subject of this special edition of At the Movies, the movie review program. Across the aisle for me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And across the aisle for me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. Now, in this program, we're going to try to figure out why Clint Eastwood is possibly the most popular movie star in the world, and why his Dirty Harry is a mean, violent guy who hardly ever says anything and isn't very likable, is one of the most popular characters in the history of the movies. Cop movies are a dime a dozen. Cop TV shows are a dime for 6 dozen. But the Dirty Harry movies have grossed more than $200 million, and the new one, the 4th one, Sudden Impact, is the most popular one of all. The question is, what's Clint Eastwood's secret?
Why are the Dirty Harry movies so popular? I've got lots of theories. It's one of my favorite subjects, actually. The emotion of revenge, to start, the emotion of revenge has been popular, I suppose, ever since the first caveman got hit in the head with a rock, and I think I owe that to Mel Brooks in one of his old comedy records. But my favorite explanation is that I think Dirty Harry is really Archie Bunker with a gun instead of a mouth. Dirty Harry does and says what a lot of people would like to do and say these days, and we can see the dynamic way he takes care of business all by himself. in the very first and still the best Dirty Harry movie, called Dirty Harry, made in 1971 by director Don Siskel. Harry has tracked down a disgusting creep of a rooftop sniper killer, and he has pinned him down in San Francisco's Kezar Stadium.
Don't do anything more! No, you tried to kill me! No! Hurry! Go on out and get some air, fatso. Please! No more! I'm hurt! Can't you see? I'm hurt! You shot me! Please, don't! Let me have a doctor! Let me have a doctor! Please, give me a doctor! Don't kill me! The girl, where is she? You tried to kill me! If I tried that, your head would be splattered all over this field. Now, where's the girl? I said, where's the girl?
I have the right for life.
Where's the girl?
I have the right for life. Doctor, please. I have right for life.
That is a fantastic scene, beautifully directed, and that creep played by Andy Robinson is one of the greatest louses in the history of the movies. When Eastwood stepped on that louse's leg, becoming judge and jury with that one step, the mass audience across this land had a gut response. They knew this was their kind of guy. Forget the law. This was justice, and short-circuiting the often tiresome legal process is Dirty Harry's specialty. We can talk about the rights of the accused, but the secret, at least one of the secrets of the Dirty Harry films, is that the makers of these films know that most people don't care about the rights of the accused as long as they're convinced the guy accused is guilty, and we always know that they're guilty in the Dirty Harry pictures.
That's right. I think the revenge thing is very basic, very elemental, and one of the funny things is that people that intellectually know that Dirty Harry is wrong find themselves swept along with the audience, even so, when they're in the movie theater. One of the constant themes in the Dirty Harry movies is that the law is too lenient on criminals. These guys are getting away with murder. One of the basic experiences in Dirty Harry's life is always being, on Monday morning, being called in to be lectured by the police chief, the mayor, an assortment of lawyers about how he just doesn't respect the civil rights of suspects. And this next scene is a classic example of that. It comes right after that scene we were just looking at, the one with Dirty Harry and the Scorpio Killer in the football stadium. Now he's been called on the carpet for that in the district attorney's office.
Where the hell does it say you've got a right to kick down doors, torture suspects, deny medical attention and legal counsel? Where have you been? Does Escobedo ring a bell? Miranda? I mean, you must have heard of the Fourth Amendment. What I'm saying is that man had rights.
Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights.
You should be. I've got news for you, Callahan. As soon as he's well enough to leave the hospital, he walks.
What are you talking about?
He's free.
And you're letting him go?
We have to. We can't try him.
And why is that?
Because I'm not wasting $500,000 of the taxpayers' money on a trial we can't possibly win. The problem is we don't have any evidence.
Evidence? What the hell do you call that?
I call it nothing. Zero.
Are you trying to tell me that ballistics can't match the bullet up to this rifle?
It does not matter what ballistics can do. This rifle might make a nice souvenir, but it's inadmissible as evidence.
And who says that?
It's the law.
Well, then the law is crazy.
Okay, then I think what we've just seen are the two basic elements of the Dirty Harry movies. The first one is he's shooting the bad guy. He's acting as judge, jury, and executioner. The second one is he's getting his civil liberties lecture. And everything else in these movies is basically just window dressing, the banter with the partners.
No, this
and
is
so
the
forth.
core.
And I think the important thing in looking at this movie is to remember that it was made in 1971. We were in Vietnam. Nixon was in the White House. Hard hats were patriotic. People were wearing flag decals or putting flag decals in their car windows.
Right.
The nation was divided between left and right, and this kind of law and order picture had a much bigger political charge in 1971 than it would now when Dirty Harry is basically more of a cartoon character.
I still think it would work today. I still think there's the subtext of division in the country. That's another issue. But you're quite right. This was a film in its moment. It couldn't have been timed more brilliantly. And I'll tell you, the appeal, you got a couple appeals. In addition to that, you also have the traditional appeal, the timeless appeal of the classic hero that comes in. He's a little too strong. We see that in Japanese movies, the Magnificent Seven, Yojimbo, he comes in, he's the strong warrior. The townspeople are a little bit afraid of him, but then they get trouble. Give it to the big guy. It's the appeal of Superman. Give it to the big guy. Too tough for me. I'll stand back, and he comes in, he does the job, and we go, oh.
I think you put your finger on something here, because a lot of cop movies before Dirty Harry got a lot of points by being realistic.
Yeah.
You know, police procedurals, how things go in the squad room, the way people talk to each other, the way you handle a case.
Yeah.
This character, Dirty Harry, comes right out of the spaghetti westerns that Eastwood made in the 60s.
Man with no
and
name.
before that, he comes out of John Wayne, basically.
Yes.
He comes in, he's a big man with a big gun, and there's the bad guy, and he shoots him, and you can go to somebody else to find out how police work is really done.
People were starved for that. Jack Nicholson was the actor of the moment, the introverted actor of the moment. Still Brando, inside a little bit, mumbling. This guy didn't mumble. Boom, boom. Why are we so excited? Why are we getting... That's why these films are so appealing. Coming up next at the movies, closet killer here, I guess. We'll begin to look at various ingredients common to all four of the Dirty Harry movies, beginning with their very topical villains pulled out of today's headlines.
You know, you're crazy if you think you've heard the last of this guy. He's gonna kill again.
How do you know?
'Cause he likes it.
It's not just growing a great potato that makes a great potato chip. It's how you slice it. Introducing O'Grady's, sliced thicker for the taste of more real potato, with a deeper cut for a serious crunch. New O'Grady's has to be a great tasting potato chip because there's more potato in each chip. O'Grady's brand, the more potato chip. New from Frito-Lay.
Open up, please. My first cold of the season.
My first customer for new Advanced Formula Dristan. Unlike some medicines that relieve 6 cold symptoms, Advanced Formula Dristan goes on to relieve 6 more, relieves all 12 symptoms.
So what's new?
No aspirin and no caffeine.
That is new. I'll try it. No aspirin, no caffeine, no cold miseries.
New Advanced Formula Dristan relieves 12 cold symptoms.
The trouble with the average bargain trash bag is that what goes in doesn't always stay in. Now this is the improved Glad 3-ply trash bag. It's been improved with Stress Flex. Plastic so strong, it stretches instead of breaking. So it fights punctures better than ever before. After all, what goes in ought to stay in. The Glad 3-ply, improved with Stress Flex. #1 just got stronger.
It's coming! It's coming!
Oh, boy! What's coming?
More butter, Sprout.
More? What's it for?
The Giant's new butter sauce.
New butter sauce?
That's right. The Giant's added even more butter to his special butter sauce. So now his sweet and tender Niblets corn has even more buttery good flavor. What do you say to that, Sprout?
That Giant's sure on the right track.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green Giant.
I've calmed down now. You know, movie lovers often talk about what exactly killed the Western. I think the Dirty Harry films share some responsibility for the death of the Western. They seem so much more relevant to the world today because the majority of our nation's population, of course, has become city dwellers. And one of the aspects of the Dirty Harry films that makes them seem so relevant is the freshness of their villains, seemingly taken from recent newspaper headlines. Let's take a look at all four villains, beginning with that rooftop sniper in the first Dirty Harry movie. He was called Scorpio in the film and was based in part on the infamous Zodiac killer that really did terrorize all of San Francisco for a long time.
If you care what happens to the girl, you better answer me. All right? All right. Now listen to me carefully. I've changed my mind. I'm going to let her die.
In the second Dirty Harry picture, Magnum Force, another topical villain. Harry battled a right-wing conspiracy inside his own police department, young cops who took the Dirty Harry philosophy to an even greater extreme.
We began with the criminals that the people know.
so that our actions would be understood. It's not just a question of whether or not to use violence. There simply is no other way, Inspector.
In The Enforcer, the third in the series, Harry battled a left-wing conspiracy, this time by radicals who had kidnapped the mayor of San Francisco.
What are you protecting these people for? You know how many they've killed? Sacrifices have to be made, mister. These people are at war. So am I.
And in Sudden Impact number 4, the apparent villain is a woman who has been raped, and she has revenge on her mind.
One night, long ago, under the boardwalk, remember?
There's some revenge, topical revenge. For mass market movies, the Dirty Harry films have been unusually attuned to the marketplace, trying to blunt criticism of Harry while still holding on to his core audience. Think about it. Was he too right-wing in the first film? Okay, let's have him knock off the far, far right in the next film. Did that annoy people on the right? Okay, let's go the other way. Send him out now in number 3 against the phony left. Is Harry a macho brute, insensitive to women? That charge's been leveled at him. Okay, and now in number 4, Sudden Impact, let's have him find a kindred female spirit and have him defend her. These films may not be the greatest films ever made, but their marketing, their topicality, it just couldn't be more shrewd.
I agree with you. It's a very delicate balancing act. And the thing is, here is a group of films that are allegedly controversial, that take very extreme social attitudes, and that appeal to everybody. Drive-ins in the South, Dirty Harry is big. Big city theaters in black neighborhoods, Dirty Harry is big. And the way he does it is he's extremely fair. He'll shoot anybody. At the beginning of the show, we saw him with a gun in the face of that black guy at the beginning of Dirty Harry, a very famous scene. What do you see in the very next scene? A black doctor taking care of the autopsy. And who does he have as a partner in that movie? A black cop. So he's got, it's on both sides. In the first movie, actually, it's Latino cop. In the second movie and the fourth movie, his partner is black. In the third movie, his partner is a woman. So that he has friends and enemies from every group, and you can never really tell where Dirty Harry stands.
And that allows him, it's not a question that he's doing a fairness doctrine here. No, it's even more sophisticated than that, because you could get somebody to write an essay that's fair. What he does is he gives every rooting interest a fresh way to approach the films. If you are a racist in the audience and you want to see black people get knocked off, you can read the movie that way. If you are black and you want to see a good image of a black, well, that's there too. If you are a libertarian and you want to get crazy, get driven crazy, and if that can be entertainment value in a crazy way, and think that the right is paranoid, it's all there too. It's not that these are so fair, it's just that they're so wildly extreme.
And another thing, he keeps taking the edge off with the humor. For example, at the beginning of every film, there's always the scene where he starts a meal. He's going to eat a hot dog, he's going to eat a hamburger, then suddenly a crime breaks out, and he has to go shoot somebody, and then he finishes his meal. So that horrible sometimes as the violence or the carnage is, at the same time, that little bit of business takes the edge off of it, so that you never really know how serious the movie is supposed to be.
Well, we're going to be getting into the humor of these films a little bit later.
Coming up next at the movies, a look at Dirty Harry's ability to appear as a strong, silent menace.
I think he also said something about winnowing the Neanderthals out of the department.
Clint Eastwood has grown famous over the years for never making any big speeches in his movies. His very first spaghetti westerns, like A Fistful of Dollars, almost 20 years ago, he tore out pages of dialogue from the script and threw them away, and usually only said a few words at a time. Well, Dirty Harry may occasionally have a little more verbal outburst than that, but he basically uses the same formula, and it works because Eastwood has an extraordinary physical presence on the camera, and I want you to look at a scene where you can see that presence at work. Now, the mayor and his press agent in this scene have called a press conference that Dirty Harry thinks is completely phony. And the mayor and the press agent are talking in the foreground. Harry is in the background next to Tyne Daly, his partner, but he completely steals the scene by the anger that comes into his face. And here's another thing. This may sound a little screwball, but check it out for yourself. There's a theory that the biggest movie stars come over more strongly on the screen because physically they have bigger heads than ordinary people. And if you look at this scene, what you'll see is that even though Harry is in the background and he's in the second row, he totally dominates both with his manner, with his spirit, and also with his physical presence, everybody else on the screen. So watch this and see what you think.
Here we are, gentlemen, the two inspectors who made the Mustafa arrest. This is Inspector Moore and Callahan. Boys, how about one with the mayor and Inspector Moore? Captain McKay, can you switch places with Inspector Moore? Sure. Move in nice and close. And Callahan, you get in there, too. We're ready.
Inspector Moore is one of the first of her sex in the whole country to become a full-time homicide investigator. And we are very proud of her stunning professionalism. All right. Thank you, boys. Thank you very much.
Watch Harry's eyes, his mouth, and his teeth a minute later when he blows up.
$2 million. That's,
Look, if you're talking about the Mustafa bust, nobody smashed anything.
What?
In fact, I made a deal with Mustafa. He was going to help me find out who the people were. Another thing, Inspector Moore and I weren't even there.
What the hell's he talking about?
Doesn't it bother anybody that there were no weapons found, no explosives?
We'll find them.
Meanwhile, the people are still out there, and they're going to blow hell out of half this city. And meanwhile, you're telling everybody how great we are.
All right, Callahan, button your lip. That's in order.
Captain, you want to jerk all these people off, you can, but don't do it with me. That's it, Callahan. You just got yourself a 60-day suspension. Make it 90.
180. Give me your star.
There's a 7-pointed suppository, Captain.
It may just be a cop movie, but it's also great movie acting. I wish we could look at that scene again, because you can see there Harry's temples begin to pound, his eyes get narrow, and he does another thing, too. He pulls his lips back so that his teeth are bared in a kind of a silent snarl. It's sort of like White Fang joins the police force when he says, "Make it 90." And he does another thing, too. When somebody's talking and Dirty Harry doesn't like what he's hearing, Eastwood doesn't just look and listen to the other guy like any other actor might. Instead, he'll turn away. He'll seem to be preoccupied, and then he'll turn slowly back to the other person, just like he's scrutinizing some kind of a bug under a microscope. It's very subtle, and it's very effective.
I don't know how subtle it is, because he's looking at them with contempt. But it's just, you know, this reminds me of a story. I did an interview with the late John Wayne, and he told me, and this is back when these movies were getting popular, or the first one was, and Wayne talked about this whole change in the style of American movie acting, and he was complaining about it. He says, I remember what John Ford taught me back in Stagecoach, 1939. He says, you know, they've murdered your family. He says, play it out, Adam Duke. And if the audience likes it, fine. If they reject it, fine. But play it out. And Eastwood is a presentational actor at a time when we've got a lot of imploding actors, and it is very appealing. It is so appealing to an audience.
Sometimes he is, but one of the things he does is he makes you wait and wait and wait. He stands there in the back row of that scene that we just saw, and you know that everything that he's hearing is an insult to him. It misrepresents the case. It destroys his manhood and his self-respect, and he says nothing. And he does nothing except in the eyes and in the mouth, and then later on he explodes. And that's what he specializes in, is holding back and then exploding.
Okay. Coming up next at the movies, one final secret to the success of Dirty Harry.
This is the 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world. And it could blow your head clean off. Do you feel lucky?
Stop, Mrs. Blair.
Why?
You wouldn't clean with sandpaper, would you?
Of course not. I'd scratch my sink.
Right, but when you clean with scouring powder, you're probably using the same harsh, scratchy abrasives found in this sandpaper.
That's rough stuff.
That's why Soft Scrub is better. It's a liquid cleanser that cleans tough grease like a scouring powder, but because it has milder abrasives, it doesn't scratch like one and leaves no sandy grit.
Great, I'm switching to Soft Scrub.
Soft Scrub cleans like a scouring powder, but doesn't scratch like one.
And now we come to one final secret accounting for the success of the Dirty Harry movies. And it's one big element that is rarely mentioned by critics. It's the very thing that Roger was referring to in that last segment. It's the surprising counterpoint of Eastwood's sense of humor as Harry amid all the death that is going on. Here is Clint Eastwood, an example of this, in the original Dirty Harry, having lunch when he notices some suspicious characters parked outside the bank.
Do me a favor, will you? Call this telephone number.
Police department?
Yeah, tell him Inspector Callahan thinks there's a 211 in progress at the bank. Got it?
211. Got it.
Be sure and tell him it's in progress, right?
In progress. Yes, sir.
Now, Guess I'll just wait till the cavalry arrives. All right.
He never stopped eating, and that look when that first shot goes off, you know, just great. It is very difficult for an actor to preside over chaos like that without much dialogue. It is even tougher to be able to switch in one scene from comedy to action to comedy, and Eastwood does it all in these movies. He is really quite good at that.
Now, one thing we usually do on At the Movies is review movies, Gene.
Yeah.
Of these 4 movies, which one do you like the best?
There's only one that I really like or would give a thumbs up to, and that's the original Dirty Harry. It is an extraordinarily well-made film by the best director of all the ones that worked with Eastwood, and that is Don Siegel. And I think it's a terrific film. They've gotten worse.
The other one I would recommend would be the 4th one, and that's directed by a very good director too, Clint Eastwood. And I think what he does in the 4th one, a long time, 13 years after the first one, a lot of things have changed, is it's a comic book, almost cartoon distillation of Dirty Harry. Just the events, just the excitement, not all of this other stuff.
And in this point we disagree, because I think that movie needed what the original had, and that was a fabulous villain. This did not have a good villain, and it isn't a good picture for that reason.
Well, that's all for this special show. Next week we'll be back with reviews of 4 new movies, including Unfaithful Yours, starring Dudley Moore and Nastasia Kinski. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Pan American, whether it's business or pleasure or a little bit of both. Across the country and around the world, Pan Am, you can't beat the experience. America's favorite movie candies are coming home. Now enjoy Raisinets, Goobers, and Snowcaps at home and at the movies. Star attractions for your movie time pleasure. Liquid Lemon Pledge for a clearly more beautiful, natural shine. Liquid Lemon Pledge in the Easy Pump Spray for all your wood furniture.
The Dresser is a wonderful film featuring 2 terrific performances in a story that celebrates the theater while at the same time criticizing the all-too-common human habit of treating strangers more kindly than the ones who love us, or at least faithfully serve us. It's the story of a much put-upon dresser or valet to a great star of the English country theater circuit. Tom Courtenay plays the dresser, Albert Finney the star, known simply as Sir. And of all the many delicate matters the dresser has to handle, one of the trickiest is explaining to the doddering old star that he has put on the wrong makeup for tonight's show. It's King Lear he's playing, not Othello.
Oh, no, sir, no! Not Othello! The lines are fouled. Instruct the puppeteer to renew the strings.
I'd have given anything to see the play tonight. The Jew all blacked up and Cordelia saying, "You begot me, bred me, loved me."
Well, you see, Ducky, this King Lear, he been about a bit.
Those are 2 terrific performances, and by turns the dresser is funny and sad, while all the while taking us backstage of the theater curtain, showing us the almost maniacal dedication involved in succeeding in the acting profession. This is one classy entertainment, and I'm Gene Siskel at the movies.